Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Sharp Game, a trusted dating advisor to millions, and we'll be talking about straightforward dating advice. Thanks for joining me, Sharp Game.
I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Yeah, I like talking about helping people with their dating, especially, a lot of people are not enjoying it nowadays. So any advice we can give to help people enjoy it a little more will be helpful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. And I know you said you got your start when you were in the Navy overseas, or at least that's where you got to learn a lot about different women from different cultures. Do you want to say more about that and start there, or?
Yeah. When I went into Navy, I met people from all around the world, basically, and I was always curious to know and understand what different cultures, different languages, and I just found it fascinating at the time, and I realized, where I'm living at the time. I'm from South Carolina in North America, right? People are very different. Everywhere you go, people are very different, right? Women are very different. But at the same time, there's some core things about women that are the same, regardless of the language, how she was raised, how she looked, how she dressed, how she talked, how she walked. There's some core things about women are the same, So I just found it when I started traveling, being in the Navy and even getting out the Navy, that these core thing about attracting women are basically the same, regardless of where you live at.
Okay. Yeah. And do you want to share some of the stuff you found out or more about how you use that when you coach people or help people?
Yeah. The first thing I learned is leadership is the same everywhere. Everywhere you go, everyone knows what leadership looks like. They might not be able to explain it, but they can sense it. They can feel it, right? And they can tell you probably the first guy that's ever been in their life was their father, right? That's most people would say, yeah, the first guy I saw, growing up was my father. I saw my father take care of the household, take care of my mom, take care of my sisters and brothers. And, my father made a lot of the tough decisions. So most people's father is usually the first good example of they had when it comes to leadership.
Yeah. And then, so you're saying women prefer a man who can lead.
Yeah.
Is that what you found to be true? I mean, I know that's true for sure too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of they don't think they want to be led as, they with the independence and feminism and all that. But I definitely also agree that it just works best if you respect and let your man lead.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Even the so-called independent woman, if the right guy shows up, I found even that woman will be like, hey, you know what? I like him. I'm gonna put my trust into him. If the right guy shows up, even the most independent woman you could ever think of, even a woman that you probably would say, oh, she would never get with a man. But if the right guy shows up, she'll throw all that stuff out the window.
Yeah, actually, I just talked to a friend who is very much like that. I never would have thought she could have. And she met the right guy, and she actually just felt safe and relaxed and just kind of let him take the lead because she respected him enough, and it just worked. And she was surprised herself.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely an important thing. And do you share with people how to take leading, or do you want to go through what you found out first and then talk about each one individually, or talk about it now?
Well, you mentioned another one, respect. Respect, I found, is probably the most important thing when it comes to having relationships between men and women. It's I found that if you have mutual respect, everything else will take care of itself within that relationship. Everything kind of works itself out in a very natural way, if there's mutual respect. But I also found on the other side, if there is no respect on from each side, whether it's from the man's side or the women's side, that relationship is going to struggle and ultimately is probably going to end.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Or you're just going to fight a lot, and then some people suffer through it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely just a power struggle the whole time, and
Yep.
just people take it personally and get mad at each other. So yeah, definitely a thing.
Yep.
And do you want to go into the other ones you found out after leadership and respect, or talk more about leadership first?
Well, we can get into some more. I also found that um uh, regardless of where you may be in the world, every woman wants to be safe. She wants to feel like, hey, I'm comfortable with this guy, regardless of where he may be from or where she might be from. Comfort is like is very important. It when people are comfortable with you, they tend to open up, be more open. You can talk about almost anything. There's no stress, no pressure. Um, the conversation flows. There's no assumptions. There's no I don't know, I didn't know this, because you're very open. So you don't have to put on an act, or you don't have to be somebody else, because a lot of people go into relationships a majority of the time, I would say, they don't feel comfortable with themselves. They feel like they got to be somebody else, or they have to pretend to be somebody else. So, I found that just first you have to know who you are. And once you know who you are, just being comfortable between each other, that's that's very important when it comes to between relationships between men and women.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's number one for women for sure. Because some men don't understand like how unsafe women can feel going through the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like my boyfriend will get surprised that I'm like, startled by something. I'm like, well, we have to worry about that more than you guys do. Like,
Yeah.
Especially like a smaller, like petite women. A friend of mine, she was like 5 foot and weighed almost nothing. And she's like, we could literally be like carried off. So luckily I'm a little taller, so I don't have to have that issue. I don't feel as unsafe, but yeah, it's like definitely. And then, like you said, just interacting with each other, the safety there of being yourself. So
Yeah.
What, is there more, or there was like the 4 main ones, or?
Yeah, I would say those are the main ones.
And what are some of the biggest mistakes men make while dating?
I think that one of the biggest mistakes is a lot of guys think women got it all figured out. They think that, if they see an attractive woman, or at least a woman that's attractive to him, he just assumes that she got it all figured out. Hey, she's probably out of my league anyway, so I'm just not going to go and talk to her. He thinks that she got it all figured out. She got the job, she got the car, she got the clothes, the jewelry, the house. So she got it all figured out. She's probably not looking for a man anyway, or probably don't want one. So they assume, too much. And a lot of times, this is where a lot of guys get in trouble, because they come off with those assumptions, and in most cases, they're wrong. The truth is, no one has it all figured out. We're all growing, not at the same rate, but no one has everything all figured out. Now, some of us are better in some areas than others, of course, yes, but no one has everything all figured out. And there's no such thing as a self-made person. There's this on the internet, especially, there's this idea that, one person can do it all. That's a fantasy world that a lot of people, um, talk about. And it got started probably like 20 years ago through a lot of entertainers, I would say. That's how it got started. That somehow this one man or this one woman done everything and didn't need any help and just did it by themselves. But no, real life just doesn't work like that. Everybody needs support. Everybody needs help at some point. Nobody's good at doing everything. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of guys make.
Yeah, I was to say the women that you described earlier are the ones that are probably looking for the man because they have everything else, and now all they need is the guy, and they're the ones that are least approached. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then the having it all together, like when couples do better when they're both supporting each other, they can both thrive and both grow. So yeah, it's always good to have someone there pushing you to grow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then one of the questions I have, why nice guys? Why do nice guys have a hard time dating women? What's up with that?
Well, a lot of times, a lot of nice guys come across as they're manipulating the woman. They're trying to be something that they're not. And a lot of women will pick up on that. They know that you're doing things just because you think she likes it. And they know that you're not like that every day. You're not like that. You might not even be like that with every woman. But she picks up on that, hey, that ain't who he really is. He brought me flowers the first day, and I never met him in my life.
Yeah.
And he claims he loves me, doesn't know me at all, stuff like that, or brings me a gift, spending hundreds of dollars, and he never met me in my life. And she knows that you don't do this all the time. You only did this with me because of whatever reason, right? So she knows that you're not being who you say you're supposed to be. So that's a mistake. So that's why. And by the time over time, the woman is gonna well, she never really respected you in the first place, but the relationship is gonna fall. It's gonna crumble. It's not gonna last. And then she's probably gonna end up cutting you off, and you're gonna be one of those guys that's saying, "Oh, she did me wrong." I look at what I did for her, and that. So that's more manipulation than anything. Just try to be your best self, whatever that is. And if you feel like who you are as your best self ain't enough, you can always grow. But don't try to fake it till you make it. That doesn't work. That doesn't last. So and I always tell a lot of guys, I don't know about you, but I like to win. And when you fake it till you make it and try to be somebody else, you gotta always have to start all over again. And that's losing. So I like to win. I like to do things to win. I like to set myself up to win. So, and in order to win, you have to grow into your best self.
Yeah, they say you can't love other people till you love yourself, and you're just a more interesting person if you've grown and learned and have things to offer each other. And I know you recommend that men wait to get married till after 35. Why would you say that is true?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't really know who we are when we're in our 20s. We're trying to figure it out, just like women are trying to figure out. Now, some people will make the argument and say, well, women mature faster than men. That's true in most cases, right? But we catch up, right? We catch up. So we're trying to figure out who we are. So I think when you get married early, it's very difficult, to maintain those relationships. If you talk to any couple that got married in the early 20s or the teen, or maybe it was 18 and 19, if you talk to any of these people and they're still together today, they're going to tell you a lot of trials and tribulations that they've been through over the past 15 or 20 years of being married and living in the same household and having kids and having all this financial responsibility. And I just think that for most people, it would be much easier and even wiser to get married later, 35 or better, that way you know what you like, what you don't like, you have more life experience. Your finances is probably going to be better. It might not be where you want it to be, but it's going to be better. And, you have a better idea of how things work, what works for you, what might work for her, and what might work for the both of y'all when y'all get together. So I just think it's much a better idea. You have more life experience when you're in your later years, like 35 or better.
Yeah. And you have a YouTube channel and podcast yourself. You want to talk about some of the stuff, how people could reach you?
Yeah. My handle on YouTube is called Love Can't Wait. And my podcast is Love Can't Wait as well. And basically I talk about all things relationships between men and women. A lot of it has to do with a lot of questions that I usually get by email, and a lot of it I even talk about it as celebrities sometimes, But a lot of it is based on relationships. At the end of the day, what works, what doesn't work, mistakes that people made, mistakes that could have been avoided. So yeah, everything is based on relationships and what works, what doesn't work, and what you can do to become a better you, basically.
Okay. And do you have other stuff to share about like how to, or if they go to your podcast, they'll see all the other stuff? Because I know it says you wrote books as well.
Yeah. If you go to my website, loveatfirstclick.com, you're going to find everything there. My books, my YouTube channel's there, my podcast is there, everything is there. And if I have a newsletter, you can get as well. So everything is at my website, loveatfirstclick.com. And I spell love LUV at firstclick.com.
Okay. All right. And then just a couple more questions. You said that you mentioned that why men should take what women say with a grain of salt. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear your.
Yeah, because most women, they don't want to be mean in most cases, right? Now you have some women that they just don't care. They just they'll just be rude and raw with it, right? But for the most part, women, they don't want to be mean, so they'll just say something because they don't want to hurt the guy's feelings in most cases, But that's why I say you should take what women say with a grain of salt. A lot of times, when you're talking to a woman, if you don't get it, they're not gonna really spend a lot of time trying to explain to you because in their mind, you ain't the one. And they know, okay, if I have to keep explaining this to him, I'm probably gonna have to keep explaining to him all the time. So a lot of women like, he just ain't the one. He's a nice guy, but he ain't the one for me. So I need to go and find somebody that has it, that understands what I'm talking about, without me going into all the details and everything. So that's why I say you should take what women say with a grain of salt.
So as it goes back to part of that, the connection, maybe the click, like
Yep.
you either two people either get it or don't, you either get each other or not.
Yep.
And I agree with that too. But also like women are more inclined to like their feelings change often. So like they might be mad in 5 minutes and then like 5 minutes later they're fine. We always change our opinion based on how we feel instead of what we think. So it's always changing.
Yep.
And you can never like predict exactly how we're going
Exactly.
to think or be. So like, just wait, like the weather, you just wait, 20 minutes and the weather will change. Our opinion will change potentially. So yeah, I was going to say that was part of the reason too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything you want to like just kind of make sure we capture, like a kind of closing comments, final thoughts to just kind of leave like daters in general? Like what's
Okay.
the...
I would say at the end of the day, you're either growing or you're not. If you're stagnant, you're not growing. And I always say that you should always be looking to get better, whether you're a man or a woman, you know. And I heard like years ago somebody say you either growing or you're dying. You can't do both at the same time. So I always say you should be doing something every day to get better. That's that's my life philosophy basically. You should always be doing something to get better. As a man, as a woman, as a father, as a brother, uh, whatever. Or whatever, even in your job or your profession, you should be doing something every day to get better. Because once you take on that life philosophy and those habits, everything gets better. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being on. If you love this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. And thanks for being on Sharp Game. Great stuff.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.